Every great success begins with a dream. This from humble beginnings to build one of the world's most influential coffee businesses through vision, courage, and determination.
Welcome to this explainer. Today we are exploring a story that literally changed how the entire world drinks coffee. I mean, think about it. We see that glowing green siren logo on almost every street corner today, right? But the empire behind it? It was built by a visionary who started with absolutely nothing. Zero. Let's dive into it.
So what if the world's biggest coffee empire wasn't built by someone born into wealth or privilege, but by a boy growing up in a notoriously poor housing project? Because that is exactly what happened. Born into public housing in Brooklyn, New York, Howard Schultz's early life was completely defined by intense financial struggle. The environment was incredibly tough. We're talking thin walls, scarce resources, and a constant suffocating financial pressure. His father worked a series of physically demanding, really low-paying jobs just to keep meager food on the table. It is a stark, almost unimaginable contrast to the towering global empire he would eventually build. And as you'll see, this specific environment completely sets the stage for every bold decision he makes later in life.
Section 1. From Brooklyn to Business. Now, there was a devastating turning point when Howard was young. His father suffered a severe physical injury, and as a direct result, he lost his job. And you have to understand, back then, for a blue-collar worker in their situation, the safety net simply did not exist. There was absolutely no comprehensive health insurance, no workers' compensation, no severance package, nothing. The family was left completely vulnerable, pushed right to the brink, both financially and emotionally. Imagine watching your father, a hardworking guy, just broken by a system that simply discarded him the second he was no longer physically useful. That left a profound, permanent scar on Howard. But more importantly, it fueled a lifelong, burning drive in him. He didn't just want to escape the grip of poverty, he wanted to eventually build the exact kind of company that would never, ever leave its people behind like that.
Howard knew early on that he had to forge his own path out of those Brooklyn projects. He couldn't rely on anyone else. So he leveraged his sheer hustle and his undeniable talent for sports to secure a way forward. He actually earned a football scholarship, becoming the very first person in his entire family to attend college, which is incredible. But listen, it certainly wasn't a free ride, not at all. He worked these grueling, exhausting hours outside of his classes. He was taking out loans, doing whatever odd jobs he could find. He was even selling his own blood just to pay for his education. That is the true definition of hustle. And after graduation, he didn't just coast into some comfortable, cushy life. He took on really gritty early sales and marketing jobs. And this is where he absorbed the harsh ground-level realities of business. He learned on the front lines how to connect with people, how to read a room, and how to powerfully pitch a vision.
Section 2. The Italian Coffee Epiphany.
Fast forward to the early 1980s. Howard joins this small, incredibly niche company in Seattle called Starbucks. Now, fun fact, at the time, they didn't even sell cups of brewed coffee. At all. They were strictly a coffee bean retailer, catering exclusively to people brewing at home. But then, a mid-80s business trip to Italy changed absolutely everything. Walking the cobblestone streets of Milan, he was just captivated by the sights, the sounds, and the profound energy of the city. He saw these vibrant espresso bars on almost every single corner. He heard the hiss of the steam wands, he smelled the rich aroma of roasted beans, and he witnessed these lively, animated conversations flowing naturally between the baristas and the locals. And boom, the realization hit him like a lightning bolt. Starbucks didn't have to just be a dry bean store. It could be an experience. It could be a true destination. To put this into perspective, at the time, American coffee was purely functional. It was a cheap, highly transactional, and let's be honest, often bitter jolt of caffeine that you grabbed in a styrofoam cup on your frantic commute to work. It was just fuel, nothing more. But Italian coffee culture? That was fundamentally different. It was an art form. It was centered entirely around community, human connection, and the deliberate experience of actually savoring the moment. Howard realized right then and there that coffee didn't just have to be a utilitarian drink. It could be this immersive, theatrical community experience. A welcoming third place, as he called it, that existed safely between the stresses of work and the responsibilities of home.
Section 3. Rejection and the Big Risk.
Now you might think he went back, told his bosses, and they instantly changed the world, right? Wrong. When Howard enthusiastically pitched this grand, transformative expansion idea to the original Starbucks owners, they flat out rejected it. No way. They were content. They wanted to remain a humble, traditional bean store. So, faced with this massive crossroads, Howard made the terrifying leap. He decided to leave the safety of his secure job and start his own coffeehouse business, which he called Il Giornale. And what followed was a brutally, intensely demoralizing year. I mean, he pitched his vision tirelessly and faced soul-crushing rejections from over 200 different investors. 200! Time and time again, the smartest guys in the room told him that Americans would never ever pay a premium price for a cup of coffee. It was a ridiculous idea to them. He was struggling to raise funds, living on the absolute razor's edge of financial ruin and fighting every single day just to keep his dream alive when literally the entire world was telling him no.
Section 4. Building the Starbucks Empire.
But then, a few years later, a massive, totally unexpected opportunity presented itself. The original owners of Starbucks decided they wanted to sell the company. Taking the absolute ultimate financial and personal risk, Howard somehow scraped together the necessary investment money, bought the Starbucks brand himself, and merged it with his own company. It was the ultimate all-in move. And he immediately began transforming those retail bean stores into the vibrant, Italian-inspired coffee houses he had envisioned. He built an entirely new customer experience, one centered completely around the barista, the music, and that welcoming atmosphere. From there, he systematically scaled this totally unproven concept across America, block by block, city by city.
Now, scaling a localized concept to a staggering global level, that obviously came with immense hurdles. The journey was anything but smooth. He had to battle fiercely well-funded market competition that actively wanted to crush him. He had to expertly navigate the company through severe economic downturns. Think about the brutal 2008 financial crisis. When people are losing their homes, a luxury coffee seems like the very first thing consumers are going to cut, right? And beyond that, the isolating, crushing pressure of being a public company CEO weighed heavily on him for decades. In fact, he even retired as CEO at one point, only to make the painful decision to step out of retirement years later. He actually had to return to rescue the company and fundamentally right the ship when it had temporarily lost its way and, quite frankly, sacrificed its soul for the sake of overexpansion.
Section 5. A new kind of leadership.
So how did he hold it all together? Well, the secret to how he built such fierce loyalty among his team during this massive, high-pressure expansion lies deeply in his past. Remembering his father's painful struggles and that total lack of a safety net in Brooklyn, Schultz pioneered a fiercely people-first leadership style. This is a huge deal. Decades before it was the industry standard in the cutthroat retail world, he insisted on treating all employees with deep, unwavering respect. He fought tooth and nail to provide comprehensive health benefits and stock options, what he famously called beanstalk, even to part-time workers. And he insisted on calling them partners, never just employees. By fostering this incredibly positive, supportive culture, he empowered his partners to create authentic, emotional connections with the customers. Basically, he built the exact company his father never had the chance to work for. Section 6. Lessons from Howard Schultz.
Looking at Howard's journey, it offers some incredibly powerful, practical life lessons for anyone with ambition. First and foremost, your background absolutely does not dictate your future. Those impoverished housing projects in Brooklyn did not limit his global impact. He also proved that failure and harsh rejection, like those 200 investors saying no, are merely stepping stones. They are massive opportunities in disguise, as long as you maintain an unshakable belief in your vision. Achieving greatness requires taking terrifying but calculated risks, and a commitment to never ever stop learning. But perhaps the most enduring lesson of his entire legacy is this: treat people well, always. True, lasting success isn't some overnight phenomenon. Actually, scratch that. It's never an overnight phenomenon. It is built steadily over time through resilience, immense empathy, and unyielding conviction. As Howard himself once reflected, every cup of Starbucks coffee represents much more than a business. It represents one man's determination to give people something his own family rarely experienced: hope. That is just a beautiful summation of his legacy. It proves that this entire empire wasn't just about selling caffeine or dominating a market. No way! It was meticulously built to provide the dignity, security, and community that his own family so desperately lacked.
Thank you for joining me for this explainer. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. How will you apply this incredible resilience and vision to build your own future? How can you channel Schultz's relentless determination to turn your own devastating setbacks into your absolute biggest successes? Think about that the next time you hold that green siren logo in your hand. Keep learning, keep pushing forward, and I'll see you in the next explainer.